Going through tours of Afghanistan, seeing things that we did, experiencing things that normal people shouldn't have to experience, created demons, and everyone has a certain level of acceptance of those demons, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, the military side of things. It could be any situation, as I previously mentioned, again, from illnesses to losses to any situation. Everyone has their own story, and within that story there's positives and negatives, goods and bads, and from the bads there are those demons, and I like to obviously refer to them as demons. It's those negative setbacks, the stuff which is holding you back, the stuff which is cramping your style, which is preventing you from progressing or moving forward. Those demons are dealt with in different manners, and there's different ways and mechanisms that we use, to overcome them. Like I had said, I drank, they learned how to swim, and I had to find an alternative. Some people turn to drugs, some people turn to fitness, some people just talk about it. Some people go the other way and don't talk about it. And everyone's got their own way of dealing with it. And I find dealing with them is the way forward, whatever way you deal with them. It's the way to obviously progress. Now, if you don't progress, that's when the issues start happening, and the mental illness side of things come into effect.
For whatever reason, I don't get lost in the journey. It's always has been the vision of who and where I want to be. So whether that came to missions, in Iraq or in Northern Ireland, it was about where I wanted to be. It was the visualization of what we wanted to create, the end result. And that, for me, was always the anchor that pulled me forward. So regardless of what happened in here, I've always had a mission, a goal. We're mission driven anyway, and we're always given a mission on the ground. It was that mission, that goal, that I would always focus on. Because if you don't have a focus on a goal or a mission, and this is generally in life, you will find that you end up becoming a victim of your circumstances. You get lost in the journey. Something happens, something major happens, and you become a victim of your circumstances because you've got nothing bigger pulling you through. So really, for me, it's always been about the fact that I visualize where I want to be when times are tough, when times are hard, when things are going really wrong. I visualize, I've got a vision of where I want to be, and it's that one thing that pulls me through, and I don't get bogged down in the situation.
I don't think the human body's set up to not feel struggle. We've struggled all our life, right? And if you think the reason why we're all sat in these buildings and eating good food is because we struggled in the past, and that struggle has generated systems and put things in place, and now we've built supermarkets and cars, but that all came from struggle. So good things come from struggle, but it's hard to find it these days. So it goes back to what I was saying before. It's like struggle could just be going for a run, or struggle could be reading a book, or just doing something difficult. Like when I was that shy kid, struggle for me was just having a conversation with someone. But the more I do it, the better I become. And it's about, if you can look back in 10 years and just go fuck, I never used to be able to have a conversation with someone. Now I can walk into a room and speak to everyone openly and confidently. That's what you get from struggle, right?
I lost my sister to mental illness, and it's something that I support, and I really don't turn a blind eye to. People suffer from PTSD, and it's a blasé, taboo subject initially, until you know someone that is actually suffering from these things. And PTSD doesn't necessarily have to be from military experience. It could be from any traumatic experience that you're exposed to. And if you don't talk about it, those demons build up, and eventually they could consume your life and consume you. So I make time for people that make it aware, or make me or anyone aware that they need to speak to people. We try and give back to charities to support those mental illness charities. And we do anything we can to literally stand by those people to let them know that they're not alone. It's something that's hit home for me and something I hold close to my heart too.
At the end of the day, you've got to define what your purpose is, and the problem is, when you're young and you haven't had many experiences in life, that means that you need to get out there and start treading, you know, throwing yourself into loads of different experiences, because you need to start defining what really makes you tick. So it's about defining your purpose. Initially, you've really got to step into the short-term discomfort for the long-term gain and start doing things in life. You know, not start following someone else's path and follow the program, so to speak. And then later in life, if you're had loads of experiences, it's about sitting down and write down all the things that really excited you. You need to define your purpose. What is your purpose in life? You know, once you do that, you define, going back over history, where have I felt really good about myself? What have I enjoyed most? And then you'll start to define your purpose. So that really all comes down to purpose. I mean, for me, I didn't find my purpose until 2011. And that was when I was rescuing the kids from child prostitution and slavery in Thailand, and I didn't know the gift that would give me. So for me, I wasn't searching for my purpose. I didn't know there was such thing as defining your purpose. At that point, I just thought I just couldn't find anything that would satisfy me, and my life was just haywire. And then I went over to Thailand. We were involved in operations, rescuing kids from child prostitution and slavery, and going and infiltrating enemy camps and getting the kids out. And that, for me, when I actually saw these kids then go to the orphanage, and then a week later, or a couple of weeks later, you're seeing these kids, very young kids walking down the street with a school uniform on and a satchel. And only weeks before, they were about to be sold into some brothel. That is fucking rewarding.
We live in a normal world where people associate their skills to the job role they've got or the qualifications that they got in university or college. Whereas I've gone and set tasks up in certain countries. That's the same as setting a business up, right? It's just different in a way. You've just got to look for different things. You've got to look for connections. You've got to network. You've got to buy assets or, buy things in and get people to do stuff for you. And that's the same in business. The two are the same. So it's more about just understanding what you can do as a person, because it's way more than what you think it is. And you just get led to believe that all you can do is that 9 to 5 or that job that you've got. Whereas actually, we live in such a world where you can just log onto a computer and learn anything that you want to learn and reskill yourself in anything. It's so easy.
Impossible is a word that I choose to ignore, because nothing is impossible. So you just set those goals out in front of you and just go and smash them.
You have to start getting experiences in life. You really have to start pushing the bar, whether that's travel, whether that's, everyone will have a passion or a desire to be something. You know what I mean? And whether that's someone that wants to travel a lot, whether that's someone that wants to be in business, you've got to start pushing the boat out and start experiencing with things. You know what I mean? So you've really got to push the boat out, and some experiences you're not going to enjoy. But you start noting down the things you do enjoy, and before you know it, you can define a purpose of where you're supposed to be and what floats your boat.
Even now, I think that gut feeling or that gut instinct is generally how I navigate through life. And I think the more you do it and the more you actually follow that gut feeling and listen to it, the more in tune you get to it. But back then, 16, 17 years old, it was, I don't know, I've always had it in my, I'm competitive, right? I've always wanted to, secretly or whatever, just be better than the people around me. And not in a bad way, as in, still now I like to feel like if we all just went for a run, that I'd be able to hold my own or just be at the front. Because I guess I never had that growing up. I was quite a chunky kid and quite a shy kid, so I've always just had this thing that's followed me around. I've always had this vision of myself following me around, that I'm just this shy, chunky kid that I was when I was younger. And I've always just tried to get away from that throughout my life. which led into kind of doing the fitness, you know, the Argos weights bench set. And yeah, and that probably still like chases me around now. So I've always just, you know, at the time, like I'm trying to get away from that kid. At the same time, yeah, just, you know, just trying to, I guess you're just trying to develop yourself every day. And you don't realize that when you're young, but the older you get, when you look back retrospectively, you notice that that's what you were trying to do. You were trying to get away from almost what everyone else is doing. Everyone else is just going down that normal life.
I try and at least dedicate 2 to 3 hours for sleep, rest and recovery. A lot of people say that's absolute madness. You can't function off of that. I'm living proof you can. Then I'd like to spend the rest of the time with my family. I'm a father of 2. You know, my wife and my kids are my biggest supporters, and everything that I have set out in front of me during the day, they ensure that I can get it all done. People come up with the excuses all the time. I don't have time for gym. You know, if only I had the time to prep my meals, if only I had the time I could look like you. Well, everyone's got the same 24 hours in the day, and it's just how you utilize them. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he had a great saying, you know, if you only sleep for 6 hours, sleep faster. But you can't sleep faster, I say sleep less. It's again, scheduling it in a matter of importance, and what needs to get done versus what you want to do versus, you know, I mean, what can be done in the day. If you need to have that done, you will get it done. You'd wake up earlier. You would go to the gym for, you know, that 1 hour instead of sitting in bed and getting that extra lay-in. So it's managing that time and utilizing it to your best advantage. Don't come up with excuses, just get shit done. That's one of my favorite sayings is, you know, be stronger than your weakest excuse and get shit done. The more excuses you make, the less probability of getting that task done is presented in front of you. So stop making the excuses and start making solutions. Stop finding an exit strategy and find a solution, find an entrance strategy into solving that problem, that puzzle put in front of you.
In your circumstances of that moment, you become a victim of them. You know what I mean? And the only way that internal messaging is just to get yourself through that is like, one thing I'll say about goals is not, a lot of times you have big, ballsy goals, and they should always be ballsy. It should be something that you doubt your ability to achieve. But the thing is, you should have mini goals. You know what I mean? A big goal should always, you never have a goal that you know you can achieve. You have a goal that scares the shit out of you. You should always have that. But the goal must be able to be broken down into small chunks. So really it's about, when you're going through that hard stuff, it's about creating a small, short-term goal that gets you from moment to moment to moment. But it's that whole internal message. And if you sit there and you're studying for an exam or something like that, and you're focusing on how shit this is and how much time it's taken and how you're not enjoying it, you won't pass it.
If you say you go to war and you're not scared, you are pretty much lying. Everyone is naturally programmed to fear the loss of their own life, the loss of experiencing a traumatic experience like being shot, being blown up. Dealing with fear is down to the individual. I tackle them straight on and almost use it to my advantage. At first, suppressing it, hiding it. That's pretty much the go-to answer for everyone. You know, you don't want to be seen as the weak character, as the person that's suffering from PTSD or is fearful of anything, afraid of heights or whatever it may be. After I'd been caught in the fire, I was pretty fearful of fire. In fact, to the degree that I couldn't even stand near a barbecue. I couldn't be around on Guy Fawkes night. It's just one of those things that I sort of stepped back and away from, I shied away from, and that was my fear. Dealing with it was the next stage. After hiding it, you know, people eventually start questioning, well, why is he not standing around the barbecue, or why is he over there when everyone's facing the fireworks that side? So it's the way that you deal with it. You confront that fear, and the way I've confronted it is by hitting it head on, by utilising whatever it was I was fearful of, and turning it totally around and just taking full advantage of the situation by putting myself in that situation again. It's not like I'm going to go and run into a fire and set myself alight again, but what it was becoming a firefighter, where I'd have to now take on the dangers, exposing myself to dangers to help other people out that may be in danger themselves. And it's that fear that's led me to now use it as a positive to help other people that could be fearing fire themselves, being stuck in a fire.
Don't quit, don't ever quit. Persistence beats resistance. That for me, quitters is failure. But also understand that failure is, success is a series of failures. So people that quit, the only people that fail are people that quit. If that stops you from achieving your goals, then you have failed. You're embracing failure.
Saying never give up. Regardless of what you're doing, never give up. So there's one thing worse than carrying on, and that's giving up. So if you do give up, that's it. You've got no comebacks to that. I always say keep moving. If I stop moving, I think that's when I'll fade away and break, fall by the wayside, and absolutely crumble. I'll have to have purpose for my day, and whatever the purpose is, whether it's to be a better father, whether it's to walk taller, walk that extra bit further, be prouder, dress smarter, train harder, lift heavier. Let's keep moving, keep doing that, keep pushing yourself forward the whole time.
Earlier on in my career, I was, I joined the Paras, I was 19 years old, deployed to Iraq, I was 20, deployed to Afghanistan in 2006, I was 21. And we got involved in heavy fighting pretty early on. And 21 years old, all your mates are still doing the same thing that they're doing back at home, and you grow up very quick. It's a different kind of education. And then I think you're full of testosterone when you're 21 years old, aren't you? And you almost, you kind of want to be in battle, but at the same time, you don't want the bad, you don't want the negative aspects of it. You don't want to see your mates die, or anyone die for that reason on your side. And I think the older you get, the more wiser you get, and the more you're able to listen to your body and mind more, and just understand more about, I guess, what you want and where you fit into combat. And I guess the further on in my career was more of just seeing what human beings are just capable of doing to each other. And again, you can look at that in a really negative way, but I looked at it as a positive, and just because life's short, and life's even shorter when you're shooting bullets at each other. So it's there's kids or whatever, or young people, or all these people dying, and it's they're all living in this hellhole kind of thing. And it was, for me, it was more about, it taught me more about just how I want to live my life outside of that area, and understanding that life's short, and you do what you do to make you happy, and you follow those things instead of what we say about following that normal life dream.
At the end of the day, you have to push through that short-term discomfort for any long-term gain, and that is the ethos of Breakpoint. But nothing comes easy. A lot of people say that there were so many obstacles in the path. The obstacles are the path. And it is always short-term. You know, it's a case of just pushing through that short-term discomfort. Embrace the discomfort, that's where you grow.
I believe that anything in life worth doing is worth overdoing, because moderation is for cowards. So, yeah, don't be mediocre. Always be that extreme, the elite. Push yourself. Keep moving forward.
To achieve anything in life, to achieve success in life, you must fail and keep on failing. And always, when you start failing, always know that if you're failing throughout your life, as long as you're not repeating the same failures, that you're growing at the same time. Ego is the one thing that's going to hold you back from anything. You know, one thing you've got to learn to be is an emotional observer. And that's not just with the ego, that's with everything. That's aggression, that's with every kind of emotion, that's with fear. And once you learn to observe your emotions, such as ego, I mean, I'm not egoless. We've all got ego. It serves a purpose in some circumstances. But I know, through any situation, I know when ego's coming in, I can stop it before it gets there. You know what I mean? But that is because I am an observer of my emotions. It's the same with everything. If I can explain that in probably a little bit better, is the fact that you imagine a fast-flowing stream. When you're consumed by your emotions, you're in that fast-flowing stream. When you become an observer of your emotions, you're stood on the side of the riverbank choosing which emotions you want to align with. But really, and the way to do that, you know, because that can sound quite confusing, is it's about breathe, recalibrate, deliver, okay? And that is not taking action straight away on instinct, straight away all the time. It's about, in a pressured situation, cortisol increases in our system, which causes confusion. The only way you can deal with that is through breathing, okay? To lower cortisol, deep breaths allow clarity and not confusion, and then you can make the right decisions. But saying that, you have to do that within 5 seconds.